The 9th of August was a terrible day. It really was. I was wakened like everyone else at 4 in the morning by the sound of bin lids.
I remember lying in bed and I heard my daddy shouting to my mummy, Joan, get up, the bin lids are going, there's something wrong.
The army rolled into all the Catholic areas and raided houses of a list. People were just dragged from their beds.
My friend was there saying, could you come with me quick? My daddy's been arrested.
They raided my house. I wasn't there. So they went across the road and they arrested my father. There was whole families were arrested and were held in internment.
They were actually had a man chained till the back of a Saracen, and it was like something you would see in cowboys and Indians and trailing the Indians behind them. It was just unbelievable.
I've lived in Portaferry all my life. We didn't have much problems down this way at all. On the 9th of August, we were to go to Belfast to visit my brother, Father Hugh Mullen, who was a priest in Ballymurphy at that time. But my brother phoned up and said, don't come up today because there's problems here.
Springfield Park came under attack from a crowd from Springmore. It was loyalists, came down. They were breaking into their houses and wrecking the back of their homes.
When I ran across the open ground and I looked over my right shoulder, I noticed 2 soldiers on the roof in Spring Martin Road tracking me with their rifles. Something came in my head, zigzag. Whether they shot me because I zigzagged or whether I saved my life, I don't know. I was knocked down flat. I was hit on the side and the bullet went through the muscle on the side and accident across my spine.
People were shouting that a man had been shot and they wanted a priest. So my brother got something white and he went out.
At that time he was doing that there, my brother Frank had ran out to help. And Father Mullen was making his way to phone the ambulance.
Father Mullen was hit about 10 to 15 yards from me and cried out, just crying out of pain. He died after about 20 minutes.
He was shot twice. And he lay there and he bled to death.
Then they started firing firing again, just firing. And the next minute was crack, bang.
Frank Quinn, who was lying beside me, he just jerked up and the bullet went through his skull and he was dead outright before he hit the ground.
It was 11 o'clock that night on RTE News that I heard that a priest had been shot in Ballymorphy. They didn't need to tell me the name of the priest. I knew who the priest was.
I heard this banging at the door, and I could see my father. So I opened the door, and he was crying, he was distraught. I said, Daddy, Daddy, what happened? What's wrong? What's wrong? And he said to me, Frank was shot. I says, Daddy, was he wounded? He says, and he went and he sat on the stairs and he said to me, no, he's dead. It was the worst day of my life. Up to that, I had only been a wee lad, 14. It was the worst day of my life.
Throughout the day, the women were back and forth protesting. They were up looking for their sons, looking for their husbands, brothers.
She said no, because the Protestants would shoot you, but the army won't.
Four or five of them was there standing. My father was having a bit of crack, a bit of slagging. And all of a sudden, the paratroopers started firing indiscriminately across the road. Anything that moved.
There was 2 white pillars at the opening till the manse. When the shooting started, people all gathered round trying to take cover.
And then maybe 3 or 4 of them tried to run towards Ballymorphy.
My brother, Noel Phillips, was trying to make his way home across from Springfield Park, try to get to safety. The soldiers shot him. Then he was lying on the ground screaming.
He yelled out, and my father turned around. And he was shot in the leg. He had twisted and fell to the ground. And his body bounced with every bullet went through him. 14 times. They intentionally shot him again, again, again.
At the same time, Noel Phillips is lying on the ground and he was screaming. Witness says my mummy walked out, bright summer's night, bright red hair, and said, son, don't be crying, I'm going to come and help you. Now, you remember when I told you earlier on in my story, the last words my mummy said to me was, the Protestants would shoot you, but the army wouldn't. And I believe my mummy walked out into the middle of that field thinking, I'm a woman. They will not shoot me. The woman in the house said she heard crying. And she banged the window and said, "Love, go up the side of the house, I'll let you in the front door." And Mummy said, "Love, I can't move, I can't see him." And she says, when my mummy turned her face, you could see half her face was missing. My mummy was shot in the face, the shoulder, the hand, the thigh. And we have witnesses said she lay there and cried.
My daddy apparently tried to go towards Mrs. Connolly to help. And then he was shot. He was shot in the right leg.
On the 10th of August, we're getting told that our priest was dead, Mrs. Connolly was dead. And 14, I just stood and listened to the adults because they were in despair.
Daddy called us in and said that we had to go away because it was too serious, there was too much trouble.
On the second day of the massacre, the mood in the area was very, very tense. The only thing that a lot of people could do is just put up barricades to prevent something similar to happen.